think they're connected to RTIH as well. So that's a very big way to go, but definitely we want to promote entrepreneurship. Honorable Chief Minister's vision for 2047 wants every family should have one entrepreneur who could really prosper the village, his place, and the country as well. Being second highest populated country in this world, we are the biggest consumers in the world, and we can produce for our own needs, and we can also produce for the global needs as well. Honorable Chief Minister believes that if we could establish the ecosystem, definitely India could prosper, and definitely every family could prosper. So that is how the Honorable Chief Minister has been guiding us. Proper ecosystem has to be established, and the department is going to realign ourselves in a way that it could really help the industry as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Professor Ramesh Loganathan, I think you're one of the voices that's worked both in the industry and academia, and which is why we have that much more of an amplification effect from you. So, sir, what can we do to change the mindset of students in universities from a placement first mindset to innovation first mindset?
That's a very, very hard problem in the sense that I think it's the education system, right? And as a society, we are the one that nurture that system, our coaching-based system. So I think we zap any creative juices left in the kids, right, from 9th onwards till 12th. So unfortunately, engineering colleges and other colleges, we get the students, I don't think we make it worse, but we don't make it better either. So it's first thing is to see how can we create more exposure. We don't, if you look at it, like when I see any of the, especially students, when they come out with ideas and such, by and large, it's around maybe e-commerce or education, right? Very, very, because their world is so limited, their exposure. They only think of problems in that. That's one big. So I think we need to increase the exposure. It's not an easy problem to solve, but that's one. I think we need to increase the exposure. Inspiration. I mean, can we, like Satish rightly said, success breeds success. Can we showcase local successes, right? And so that they believe it's possible. If somebody from a neighboring town or has done it, they believe it's possible. So I think the inspiration is something that's very important. We did this, I mean, I know Lokesh Garu said things paused for 5 years, but before that, when we were trying the FinTech Valley, we did try to create a culture of trying to, I mean, hackathons. I'm not a big believer in student startups, right? I mean, students should study and they should graduate. But the inspiration should come there. Ideas, thinking about it, like just doing a hackathon to think about a problem to solve. Think about customers and, right? I think we need to create those, more and more of those fora where they get to experiment a little bit with ideas, and like it may not become a startup, but that's okay. But they start to think. Today, it's a very job-based as an end outcome, but otherwise their day-to-day life is exam-based. They're just preparing for an exam, and they hope that the good marks, good grades will get them a good job. And they think life is set. Life is not set, right? There's a lot more to life than that. I think we need to make them experience, and that we need to create this in a good way. I mean, like connect them to markets. Many hackathons happen, but there it's more about just building something, writing some code. Can we create hackathons where they think about customers and problems, users and problems, and try to solve that? I think that at scale, I think the framework that RTH is creating in the hub and spoke model is a good framework to devise something at the central level and roll it out all the way up to like maybe even a district level, and have hackathons that roll up to a state level. But doing it in a way that's very user, customer, problem focused is very important. I feel that alone can bring about change in mindset, and that change in mindset is the starting point.
Thank you, sir. At RTIH, we're really excited to launch something we're calling InnoTribe, which essentially is going to be an RTIH accredited network of entrepreneurship cells across Andhra Pradesh. And through that, we aim to democratize the aspiration of entrepreneurship in itself, and also ensure that student innovators find that pipeline to enter the startup system.
Gatri, one interjection. Lokesh, you generally do things with speed. I have one small idea. When Professor Ramesh was speaking, a lot of institutes and schools, they are very delayed at helping students decide whether they want to take placements in their final year, because they generally stumble upon an idea by third, fourth year, And my own alma mater has implemented this very recently. That and this was there in all Ivy Leagues. Obviously, it's there in IIT Bombay, it's there in BITS. You can defer your placements in 4th year, start off, and if the fear of failure, like let's say if you fail, if nothing works out, you want to pick up a job, you can actually within 2 years come back and sit back again in placements. So this is something in Andhra, like you can look at doing it with speed. It creates a safety net, and then because in Kharagpur, I mean, lot of us, lot of kids, like lot of friends wanted to, but then it's like that pressure of, okay, our parents thought that this kid will graduate, get a job, and support family, and then now I don't even have a job, right? So that one safety net you can create from like day one.
That was a really good suggestion, Mr. Rajesh. Mr. Madan Patki, you worked at grassroots and then you also scaled up enterprises from grassroots, which is where it really matters. So for you, it's well known that grassroots innovators are great at Jugaad. Now, how do we take this Jugaad and help them build scalable, investable and income producing enterprises?
Wonderful. Namaskar, and wonderful to be here. Thank you for inviting me. It's fascinating to listen to a bunch of views, very, very energizing. As I was sitting here, I was just reflecting on my own startup journey. I started off in 2000, much before anybody could spell entrepreneurship. Even now I struggle without word autocorrect happening, whether it's N-E-U-R or N-U-E-R or whatever. I sometimes believe the root word for entrepreneurship is antarprerana, right? And that should be the one, right? It's all about inner motivation, right? And perhaps we should, Lokesh, here to start off by replacing entrepreneurship with antarpreranaship or something like that. Entrepreneurship. That's a great one, right? So, and at that time, to what Rajesh was saying, there were barely a handful of us in Bangalore who were dreaming of being a startup. In fact, TIE started in Bangalore in '99. I'm on the TIE global board. Nandan Nilekani was the president of TIE Bangalore. And I still remember attending one of the first meetings where there were like 8-10 of us sitting around a table and asking some naive questions like, if you don't return equity, will you get jailed and stuff like that, right? So, but it's come a long way. The nation has moved a long way. In fact, I was also reflecting very fondly on on the Honorable CM's foresightedness that you talked about. We were invited to Andhra as Merit Track in 2003 to conduct India's first ever online graduate employability test called GET, and we did it online across all the districts of Andhra. I'll never forget that because everything that could go wrong went wrong. But that set the tone for what a digital first assessment system could look like, right? So to your point about Dhatri, about the whole vision of one family, one entrepreneur, and you were talking about data. So I think there's a 3D framework in play here, right? Any entrepreneurship model has to be democratized. Today it's getting there. A lot more to be done at the grassroots, right? Can every youth out of any village dream that, yes, I can do that, right? That relatable role models that we were talking about. 2, it has to be distributed. It has to be in every village. That's the concept of mass entrepreneurship. That how do you get every village the equal opportunity that anybody in a Vizag or a Hyderabad or a Bangalore or a Delhi has to access the same kind of resources and knowledge that I can still do it. And 3rd, it has to be digital. In the world of AI, the world is really the market, and I think we are at an inflection point of the same 2000s when you can really reimagine everything with the power of AI, and that's the power of the moment now. I think every big idea has a tipping point, and I can really see the tipping point. We're getting to the tipping point of the ecosystem that we're seeing in Andhra and places like Vizag. From the aspect of taking grassroots ideas and building it up, again, just summarizing some of the things that we said, there are 3 things at play. One is the seed. How do you make every young person right from school to start think about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial thinking? Now, whether one becomes an entrepreneur or not is a moot point, but entrepreneurial thinking is a critical 21st century skill, right? So how do we embed that seed in every individual's mind that, yes, I can think entrepreneurially, I can think Jugaad, I can think of solving problems, right? The beauty about India is there are problems everywhere. right? Every problem is an opportunity in disguise, and if we can capture those problem statements to turn into opportunities, we're sitting on multi-billion-dollar opportunities, right? Second is, what is the soil, which is where RTIH comes into play, right? How do we make the soil fertile enough for that seed to sprout? It could be academic institutions helping with incubation. It could be local capital available. It could be banks willing to go the extra mile to say, yes, I'll lend to you, right? It could be local relatable role models which says, if this joker can do it, why can't somebody else? Which is what happens in entrepreneurial ecosystems. And the last part of it is climate, which is where, Lokesh Garu, what you were talking about, sir, is that how do you create an environment of policy that is supportive of the entire seed and soil, right? How do we make sure that access to capital is easy? How do we make sure that ease of doing business, I think it's a big deal. In fact, at GAME, we had helped one state decriminalize 1,100 issues around in the policy which can imprison an entrepreneur, and we brought it down to some 170, right? So we need to do all of that so that entrepreneurs can go out there, bat on the front foot and say, listen, I can hit every ball for a six, right? That is the kind of confidence that we need to do. So we need to make sure that there's an orchestra of seed, soil and climate. And I'm sure with all the initiatives that are happening here, we can build this up. In fact, one last point I would like to say is that at the soil level, we need to be able to infuse, as you were saying, logistics, right? How do we make sure that there are common infrastructure available even at the village level? So if there's a women artisan producing something, she doesn't have to struggle to take packages to 30 kilometers out and then find a logistics network and returns and all that. So can we do that ease of doing business from an infrastructure standpoint? Lastly, I know we haven't talked much about the two-letter AI word, which I believe is also all-inclusive. So I believe that India needs not more of Gen AI, but we need more of Jan AI. That we need to be able to take AI to the masses. And we're actually launching a large initiative called Jan AI, where every village can it be a hotbed of AI innovation for solving local problems by local youth. And I think that opportunity to do that is fascinating. So look forward to working together at the Global Alliance for Mass Entrepreneurship. We're really excited. We have the Vizag Entrepreneurship Mission that we have launched a few months ago, supported by RTIH, and I think we are experimenting a bunch of things here, and I'm sure, Andhra will be able to set the entrepreneurship model, as we were talking about, to the rest of the world very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Really like the seed, soil and climate concept that you've introduced us to. Hopefully through RTIH as well, we have something called MINE, which is essentially a micro incubator network across Andhra Pradesh, where we have mobile incubators traveling to the remotest parts of the state and taking innovation and the incubation ecosystem right to the doorstep of the grassroots innovator. He need not go searching around for the right ecosystem. HMIT, sir, we come back to you once again. Sir, you want to make entrepreneurship a statewide aspiration. So how can we ensure that cohorts like women, rural entrepreneurs, MSMEs, students, the mission reaches all of them? That is one. The second one, sir, we have a lot of investors, students, innovators watching us today. So what is the signal that AP wants to send out to them?
I'm getting all the tough questions. I think, to be honest, well, I'll answer your questions, but I think the entrepreneurs in the room, first thing you need to realize is you need to have fire in your belly. Please understand that. There is an example for us, that is our Chief Minister. Just look at his journey. What was Hyderabad in 94? Nothing. He took a barren land. He got L&T to build a round building called now Cyber Tower. Then he managed to steal Bill Gates out of a cocktail networking dinner, pitched Hyderabad, got them to do their center. ISB was coming up in Maharashtra. He hijacked the flight that was going to Tamil Nadu, Madras back then, to Hyderabad, served breakfast with his own hands to all the who's who of India to get ISB to Hyderabad. Let's look at what is he doing now. The quantum mission that's getting created in Amravati. When he first called me and he said, "Yaar, I want to do this quantum thing," I'm like, what is he even talking about? So I went to ChatGPT. I said, ChatGPT, give me a 2-page note on what is quantum, what is ecosystem, what does it mean? But please understand that he didn't leave it there, right? He follows up the persistence, perseverance. So why am I sharing this with you is entrepreneurs here, you need to understand that there will be 99 naysayers. It won't happen. Why are you wasting your time? But it takes that 1 second every morning to say, no, I'll go get it done. And I'm sure Rajesh will agree with me on this. I'm sure, family members themselves will agree. నీకు ఎందుకురా భయ్ అన్నీ నువ్వు హాయిగా ఉద్యోగం తీసుకొని నీకు మంచి డబ్బులు వస్తాయి కానీ ఐఐటీకి ఎందుకు పంపించారు డబ్బులు దండగా నీ పైన దీస్ ఆర్ ద క్వశ్చన్స్ దట్ వి గెట్ ఆస్క్డ్. But that fire in the belly is what all of you need to have. You need to drive, you need to be patient, you need to be persistent. Coming back to the question that is asked here, right? I think there's a lot of work that we need to do. So, as Datri is heading RTIH as in 2 young ministers, relatively young, I have a lot more grey beard, but relatively young ministers, we have to look very inward looking. With all the panelists here, we need to sit, we need to work, we need to analyze, we need to introspect the changes that we need to bring. Let's accept one fact. It is not easy to do business in India. Let's accept the reality. While every one of us is trying to, top the ease of doing EODB or now Andhra may speed of doing business, let's accept fact that it is not easy to do business in India. But what I'm promising to every entrepreneur in this room is Andhra is a platform willing to change. We are here, we are willing to look at every regulation, law to make your lives easy, to really deliver in spirit on the ease of doing business. We spoke about, logistics in the village. We spoke about the artisan who wants to supply their product to the US, or to the grandmom who's making pickles at an industrial scale and sending it to Europe, or the households making tapes from Kaja and trying to send it all the way to Southeast Asia or even to Australia. Logistics matter. Certification matters. So this is where the entire ecosystem sort of comes together. And that's exactly what I'm looking forward to working with, all the leaders here. Because you've gone through it, right? You've been through it. You understand. The wealth of knowledge that's here on this dais is not there in the big fives, with all due respect to them. Because you've tried, you've tested, you failed fast, you've sprung up again, you've run. Satish has incubated so many amazing companies. I'm very envious in the way he's done it. So there's a lot that, the companies can come and give us input on. And that's exactly what we want to do here. And that's the only way, as you rightly said, the rural, someone who's made a simple, tasty sweet. That's a big business in India. 1.6 billion people. And we love our sweets. We love food. That's a big business. Millets is a big business. Right? There's such amazing ideas in rural that we can harness. But this is where I think it's very easy to say that we'll look at everything, we'll evaluate everything, we'll fund everything. But practically speaking, it's impossible to scale at that level. But how do you create an enabling environment that will stand the test of time and politics? So beyond the people who are sitting on this dais, right, our lifetime, they should still continue to succeed. And that requires an institutional framework. And that is what, as young ministers, we offer to the people of Andhra Pradesh. Please understand, 17 out of 25 ministers are first-timers. So what we bring is raw energy, passion to change things. While I know it's not a dais to talk politics, but please understand, while the political party now has 4.5 years of legacy under its belt, but the team now that's representing is very young. The last part I would like to add is the capacity building that we're working at a governance framework. Yesterday we signed an MOU with the Singapore government, and the first point we inked is building capacity, where officers like Datri will go to Singapore, understand that what is the framework required. Yeah, we can keep changing laws, right? But then Lokesh is here today, Lokesh might not be sitting here tomorrow. How does the framework continue beyond me or beyond individuals? I'm sure Rajesh knows this, right? When you started your company, it was all about you and you, right? Everything would come to you, but then you'd bring in systems, processes, frameworks. That's exactly what states need. And only then will we thrive. And that has been the cornerstone of what we want to achieve in this term. As you will hear that we'll do, there's this startup, there's that land given, this is there, that's great. But what's beyond us? The frameworks. The state should continue to thrive. The state should continue to accelerate towards the $2.4 trillion economy. Only then the Vikasit Bharat mission can be delivered. Thank you.
Thank you so much for articulating that, sir. Mr. Arora. So it is. This was. Note to team again. So, Mr. Arora, sir, we keep saying that corporates are the partners that we have at RTIH are our real strength. How do we ensure that? What are we doing to ensure that corporates are co-builders in this journey with RTIH?
I think Satish mentioned that capital chases talent. I think it's no different. Even corporates also chase good products, good companies, good services, good talent. So, in fact, everybody chases good talent and good money. So, there's no doubt about it. So, I think if you're talking about RTIH and the role of corporates, I think Lokesh Garu mentioned about ease of doing business. But when you mention about ease of doing business, I think the context is obviously mostly startups. How can we nurture startups faster? But I think, at least in Tata Group, what we say is, how do Tata companies become most attractive corporates for startups? That's what we try to do it. Can we do something so that we become the most attractive? Because we are there in almost every industry. We have thousands of problems. In fact, from starting Monday, we are starting a program for shop floor workers and supervisors, asking them to identify problems which can be solved using AI. We are targeting about 15,000 shop floor workers in this month, to help them identify problems. Then we train them, and then we put them with mentors who have done AI projects in Tata companies, and try and see how we can scale. In fact, my team does a lot of work in identifying startups, giving them use cases. We publish use case every month on an open website. Startups apply, participate, we discuss, and then when it comes to giving an opportunity to startup, we find there are a little bit of rough edges. It could be, most of them are due to legal systems and stuff like that, which I don't want to go into detail, but we are trying to solve it. So I think we can accelerate this journey if we can have an equivalent of 3PL, for example, since you are here. Can we have a 3PL for startups to ride on and do some use cases in corporates, which can de-risk the whole thing? So this is a big problem. De-risking to work with startup is a big subject. It's not an easy, but I think there's a role that 3PL can play here, equivalent of 3PL, not really 3PL, but I'm just drawing a parallel. So corporates are hungry. If there is something that we can do to bridge the gap between this hunger of corporates and those barriers that I'm talking about, I think we can accelerate a lot when it comes to helping this vision of one family, one entrepreneurship. And let me go to quote our very similar to what we've been talking about HCM's vision. Our chairman, he participates. He sort of when it comes to I talked about recognizing failures. There's one of those years when we didn't have any award for the failure. So there's one evening in which there are about 15 awards given. There are 15,000 nominees and there are 15 awards, so 1 per 1,000. More difficult than IIT JEE Advanced or JEE Mains to win an award in Tata Innovation Ecosystem. So there was no award for Dare to Try, and he was quite upset. He said, I'm very unhappy. While we have given 14 awards, but for me the most favorite award is Dare to Try, which means there is something which is missing. Why are people not trying bold ideas? So there was a message, and that is a message. And when we have leaders like HCM and our chairman, and I think, as I said, we all can come together and help their vision, accomplish that vision of our leaders. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Just to add to that, for any of you who's curious as to what the 17 plus partners that are working with RTIH today are doing, they are literally leading the whole initiative, driving it on themselves. We have corporate innovation challenges wherein, as Mr. Arora just mentioned, corporates throw their problem statements open for startups to work on, that then go on to become procurement channels and work orders for startups. They're also trying to open up their test beds, their labs, so that startups can have access to the data sandboxes that they can work on. They are also anchoring certain sectors across our hub and spoke network. And also imagine the best people in the corporates that are coming in now as mentors in the RTIH network. So we're really grateful for all the support that we're getting, sir, from the corporate and the knowledge partner network that we have in RTIH. Mr. Rajesh, we come back to you now. You've mentioned how it's so important to create hero startups. So we do have a lot of startup founders now working. So what can RTIH and Government of AP now do to help them in their scale journey?
I think, if the startups are created right, I think that, I'm being very, very, upfront and obvious here that they really don't need much of help. You have to be around them and ensure that we're not doing anything stupid that they really, say ki I'm bumming Vizag and I'm moving out of here. So I think getting something created is actually, so basically, let's say assuming startups begin, let's say assuming 100 startups or let's say 1,000 startups, begin, right? Getting to the first institutional raise and getting to something really working, right? That, that fall is the highest. Probably 1,000 may say, less than 10 or 7 or 8 will get there. Once it's working, the chances of these companies probably, IPOing maybe 30 to 40%, right? So literally after it's created, after the founders know what they want to do, how to figure things out, etc. I think, letting them be and not disturbing them too much is how I will put it as. And if they come to you guys for help, figure it out or at least act like you're helping so that they tell the good things about you guys, right? Yeah.
Point taken. We're just going to let them be if they already started up and doing well.
Yeah. You'll land me up in trouble, boss.
Mr. Satish, sir. So you're already helping us do this, but I just wanted it to come from you. The Alternative Investment Fund, especially a state-backed AIF that we're trying to build. What kind of design principles do we put in place so that the private capital is not hesitant to invest in that?
Yeah. I know Bhaskar Garu is here, is very actively, obviously working on this, and it's been a dream of Lokesh Garu also. So I think first thing we need to do is make sure that it's privately run and it's neutral, right? And it's very focused. The most important thing is that a lot of states do a mistake of course, we need to create a fund to support entrepreneurs in the state, and that's important. But also to create that escape velocity and to create the success, we should be a bit more flexible. One of the things we could do is that if you have significant operations in AP, right? Even the founding team could be in Bangalore, could be in Hyderabad, could be in Chennai, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying all of them, a portion of them, if they have significant operations in AP, right? a small piece of the fund could be allocated to them. So I think when we create a platform like that today, I mean, if you really look at Startup India took birth 10 years ago, a 10,000 crore allocation by government, Honorable Prime Minister, all credit to the Commerce Department, right? DPIIT. The 10,000 crore had a multiplier effect of another 10. So 100,000 crores went into the startup ecosystem, right? So very similarly now, if you look at, there's a deep tech fund, there's an AI mission, there's a quantum mission, there is RDI fund of 1 lakh crores that is recently announced. So there are several initiatives. There is Self-Reliant India, which is an MSME fund. That's again another 10,000 crores. One of the things we need to do is leverage all of these schemes. State will definitely contribute and the private investors will contribute. But let's make it a neutral platform, privately run and run for profit and run on merit primarily, right? So that it'll only grow and become really big. I think that's the plan. And, that's the structure all of you and Bhaskar Garu, everybody is kind of putting into place. And I believe that, like I said, we should have at least 3 funds or 4 funds, from my perspective. We should have an innovation fund. I think there are some ideas, how do we jumpstart innovation? Like you talked about, speed of business is the tagline of AP today. We talk about a lot of deep tech stuff. We have fundamental problems in this country about deep tech, and you talked about it, ease of doing business. Today you can't import chips. You got to go to Singapore, you got to go to Taiwan to get the chips, primarily, right? In China, in certain areas, if you do phase 1 trials of biotech, you are allowed to commercialize that as long as you pass through the safety test. In India, you have to wait for several years to get through phase 2 trials, which is phase 1 is safety, phase 2 is clinical efficiency. So there are certain things, certain knobs that we can turn, right? Very similar to what was done in STPI. Very similar to what is being done in GIFT today. GIFT is outside of the purview of SEBI and RBI. That is to fast track. I think as a state, we have certain levers to kind of create. So we should have an innovation fund. We should have an MSME fund. We should have a social fund. And we should also have a women entrepreneur fund. I think we should have multiple funds, absolutely, which are all run by very, very efficient fund managers, right? So that we can create this ecosystem that will evolve and make us, all of us, proud and give enough opportunities to the entrepreneurs.
Thank you, sir.
Ratri, I want to add one thing. On this, the scaling part and early startup part, right? Government is always one of the biggest customer of services. The amount of spend government does, right from technology to, let's say, obviously at a national level, defense to logistics to etc. Right? And like in many countries, lot of startups, I think 30 to 40% startups are building for government as well, right? So in that direction, like we can probably review every spend, and generally we find that it's not a very, open area to really go and innovate. And if that we can open up, that can actually give a lot of startups rooms to really grow within the state for the state consumption.
Absolutely, sir. You keep talking about making AP the GovTech capital of the world. That is something we have in cards, where we really are serious about developing GovTech, civic tech solutions here in AP, and that becomes the epicenter of innovation in the governance front.
That's in full control of yours. You can just enable and debottleneck that.
No, see, the matter of fact also is that the entire speed, right? I mean, if you look at the mojo of Andhra Pradesh now, it's all about speed of doing business. Where did it all start? It started with a conversation that Chandra sir of Tata Group and I had while I was dropping him at the airport. So he came to meet the CM. So one way the industries minister, the other way I went with him. I said, yeah, we don't get time. So might as well steal that 40 minutes in the car so I can do my rapid question fire round. I wish I recorded, I should have got this camera and put it there record. I asked him, I said, sir, this time around, what would your advice be to me? He said, speed. His point was, please understand that today, pretty much all large organizations are doing north of billions of dollars of investment. Speed matters. A 6 months delay once projects get grounded, entire business plan goes for a toss. Why am I sharing that with all of you here is that conversations that we have are very serious, are in-depth, and the state actually acts on it. It's not, acha baat hui hai, I got a chance to meet Chandra sir, took a selfie and we forgot. No. In fact, that's not our priority. Our priority is more ki, boss, what is the feedback? What are the areas that we can improve? So as Satish has also shared that, lot of changes, it could be regulatory changes. And that's why I keep jokingly saying, in Andhra Pradesh, we have the double engine bullet train Sarkar. So you have Namo, as we say. So Namo is no longer just Narendra Modi ji, it's Naidu and Modi ji together. So the idea is our ability to champion policies at the national level is also something, we have appetite for it. And the beauty is Government of India also is recognizing the fact that incremental reforms are not going to get us where we have to. The beauty is that today Government of India, like when I talk to Piyush ji or Ashwini ji or even Nirmala madam, they're all like, you tell us what we have to do, but double digit karna hai. We have to grow at 11-12%. You tell us. Transformative changes we're willing to do. I think that is exciting. And that is something where I'm looking forward to working with leaders on the dais, off the dais. Because tell us the changes that you look forward to. It could be in biotech, in chips, our ability to import, our relationships even with countries, our neighboring countries. These are things that, Government of India is very serious, passionate about. And Andhra Pradesh is one state that can champion those conversations. Please understand that Google's investment in Andhra now sounds great, but it took us 13 months of hard work. We followed on, we worked on regulation, data privacy, lawful intercept definition, data embassies, to retrospective taxation. We really worked on it. It was done in the interest of our great country, our nation. In the process, Andhra had first more advantage, so be it. If other states are sleeping, I can't help it, no? Like quantum mission. We are not looking at just bringing a quantum computer, but we are now working on how can I tap the entire funds available in the quantum mission, build the ecosystem, now go back to manufacturing. So what you will see 10 years from now is actual manufacturing, research, manufacturing actually happening in the Amravati cluster. So that is what is required, and that is what I'm looking forward to working with all of you. See, with all fairness, I'm a reasonable expert in politics and policy making. I'm not an expert in logistics. So I look forward to working with Rajesh on logistics. I look forward to working with Satish ji on how do I create the ecosystem for fundraising. But you need to challenge us, you need to push us, and only then we can create this vibrant ecosystem that can not only make Andhra Pradesh proud, but India proud.
Honorable Minister for MSME, sir. Sir, for OFOE, One Family, One Entrepreneur Vision, we really need to bank on our regional strengths and economies of scale. How do we make this mass movement through the cluster approach that we have and through MSME, sir?
That's a nice question. Firstly, you should recognize the ministry as such. Honorable Chief Minister has aligned the departments in a very passionate way. No, in the country, no other state has this ministry. MSME, SERP and NRI Relations and Empowerment. It actually connects to the grassroots level to the global level. We have SERP department where 90 lakh women work for empowerment, their financial empowerment, their social empowerment. So we are starting with SERP department to adopt One Family, One Entrepreneur. There's a target of 1 lakh women should convert into entrepreneurship every year. Honorable Chief Minister has given to us. And MSME department is closely working to scale this up. We are trying to enlarge to maximum more than 1 lakh or 2 lakhs. We're trying to create the ecosystem, getting the private players, nurture the women, form the value chain, create a brand, and so that there are a lot of verticals altogether. They have food processing, they have gifting culture, they have a lot of good ideas which can be taken into a global value. So the government is clearly working with the private partners to empower these women. SERP is actually adopting in a big way with one family, one entrepreneur. And as such, MSME is closely working with SERP department and RTIH and along with the Ministry of Industry as well to connect the global value. And we also have the NRT ministry here, which is closely working with all the NRIs. There is a large Telugu diaspora which is across the globe. We're inviting them, connecting them to the state, trying to build the network so that the market access can be, connected to the global value, and all the products that are being manufactured or being produced here can be scaled up to the global value chain. So there's a big way to go, but we are starting here. We're aligning the departments to work. We're building the policies to get into that line, and we're taking the private partnership. We are taking the help of RTIH in a big way. It has to be a closer connect, and we are also taking the cluster approach. As such, Honorable Chief Minister has divided the entire state in a cluster approach so that the large industries are connected to the ancillary units. So the logistic cost can be reduced. As such, we have automotive sector in the Anantapur. We have a petrochemical side in the across the Ramayapatnam port, and we have bulk drug across North Andhra, and we have steel industry in the North Andhra. We have IT hub in Visakhapatnam. We have quantum hub in the Amravati. As such, there's a lot of, and the drone hub in Kurnool. So as such, the entire state, and we're adopting the futuristic technology as well. We have a aerospace policy. We have a space technology companies. We're inviting the private players. We're inviting the defense policy, where we're incentivizing based on getting the rights from original equipment manufacturer. So a lot of policies have been built to adopt, to bringing the industries to state of Andhra Pradesh, and also creating an ecosystem where the cluster approach can be taken in a big way, incentivized. And we also have a big thing called 175 MSME parks. Honorable Chief Minister believes that getting the employment close to the city is not the right way. He thinks that the rural people should really get an employment. So he has created 175 MSME parks. So these rural people can really start somewhere with better ecosystem, better facilities. With these parks can really accommodate them in a big with a good support, where their capital investment and operating investment can be reduced. And there's a big way that Honorable Chief Minister is also trying to create a cluster, common facility centers in these industrial parks. So there's a lot of ecosystem which is really going on, and we're inviting the private players to collaborate with the government so that we really could take it to the global value, global chain. Thank you for that. Thank you.
I think what Srinath spoke about is the verticals. I'm sure if anyone visited my sessions earlier, you would have heard this from me. Vertical and horizontal integration in a cluster. Horizontal is where my ministry comes in, which is education, right? Let's take solar cell manufacturing. There's so much of research that can still happen. So I'm working on global education institutions who have expertise in certain segment. So like James Cook University to look at aqua, right? University of New South Wales to look at solar cell. How can we do rapid prototyping from ingot to testing, wafer, the whole 9 yards? So entrepreneurs like you who have an idea, who understand material science, can actually go there and then incubate. So vertical is set. The ecosystem companies are in. The horizontal is where we come in. As you rightly said, testing. Certification. Air conditioning heat pump. Again, Blue Star gave me this feedback. I don't know how many of you know, 50% of India's air conditioners are manufactured in Andhra. With the new agreement with LG, Daikin and Blue Star, it's going to go to 70%. But there is no certification agencies there. So anytime a heat pump that's made for Europe or anywhere, you have to get certified. We need to send it to Germany or various other countries. Our engineers have to go, minimum 2 crores is spent just on certification. The question that was asked to me is like, why is it not there in this ecosystem? That's when it struck to me. So we're doing this glass city, drone city, and so on and so forth. So certification, testing, common facilities itself becomes a huge draw for entrepreneurs to actually come and look at. So just to add on to what you said. Thank you, Srini.
Yeah, thank you, sirs. I just have 2 more questions, and I request my guests to give crisp answers in the interest of time. Professor Ramesh, we do have brilliant research talent in India. We see that often, but then the commercialization of research is a little poor. How do we help, sir, this lab to industry journey?
I think first off, we need to get those good research institutions, right? I'm with an institution that our CM Garu created, right? Ground up. Like Lokesh Garu said, ISB was brought in, but Tripartite was created ground up, his vision, right? And he created, and I think today it ranks in 25, 26 years, it ranks now among the top 1 or 2 in the country for AI research, right? And maybe top 5 in the country for overall computer science research. I think we need those institutions to come up first. I mean, lab to land requires good quality research happening. So on one end, we're going grassroots, intent entrepreneur. On the other side, you need to get those, like Satish said, technology for the world, right? Or the innovation for the world. That will by and large be based on some deep science, deep tech. So I think there needs to be those research centers created first. The mindset, I think, when the vision of the government that day was like you create an institution within the government framework, it will become yet another government academic institution. It was kept outside the government framework. Today we are a private university, our sole promoter was the state government. And I think that mindset is very important. So it should be started with that mindset that you're doing research and with the intent to commercialize, the Israeli model. I don't think we have much of it in India today. IITs had a long way before, and now they're changing last 10, 20 years, but still very slow to change. Institutions like IIIT are good in this sense because we have to generate our own funds. We have very strong intent to commercialize, but we are limited in bandwidth in terms of what we can do. We're doing good, but we could do much better. If you create a new breed of institutions with that intent, Israeli model is what I would suggest. Create those hubs, small hubs, PG research institutions. Teaching is not the focus. I think that is required with that new mindset is what I would think can bring about a significant shift.
Thank you, sir. Through the numerous centers of excellence that we're going to have in the RTIH network, hopefully we do an actionable interaction with our knowledge partners and research institutions. Mr. Madan, the last question to you is, how do we make entrepreneurship a mass movement and not just an urban privilege?
Very wonderfully said. I think the first thing begins by, and I've seen it happen, the miracles happen. We've taken literally zero educated, illiterate village youth, and in 6 months to a 1,000-hour intervention, we've transformed them to be English-speaking, digital illiterate entrepreneurs, professionals. We've done it for over 100,000 youth across 100 districts. So much so that two of my rural youth and I are the first day for sure, the entire incoming batch of all civil servants of the country, where we talk about transforming rural poverty. That's the power. So at RTIH, if we can shout from the rooftops that there is unlimited potential in every youth, right? Make them believe that they are capable of miracles, miracles will happen, right? So I think that is the second thing is the journey that we've been talking about of youth. 4 stages quickly. One is inspire. How do we inspire them? How do we create aspirations in them to become entrepreneurs? How do we get them to respire where they start? And how do we get them to perspire where they start growing? If we can speed up this journey of inspire, aspire, respire, perspire through RTIH and get as many people to experience that journey through a pyramid, the speed, Lokesh Garu, that you're talking about, if we can hit that and we fail fast, fail forward, it'll inspire people to say this is all doable. And that's what we need, right? I'm a big lover, and I'll end with that of the movie Kung Fu Panda, right? How a common panda can become a Kung Fu warrior is all by belief and by the ecosystem around shouting and celebrating successes. And I think RTIH is ideally positioned to make that happen, and it will happen. That's the belief that maybe we'll leave this panel with. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This conversation was so rich that maybe I'm biased, but I feel like there should be a part 2 just for RTIH, or we should probably make a mini series out of this conversation. I know, sir. So on that note, they say that all good things must end, especially a time-bound panel session. I think I'm here being urged to end this. So on that note, thank you so much to our honorable ministers. Sir, you both have set the vision for innovation that now gives us the mandate and the momentum that we need. Thank you so much to my distinguished panelists. All of your inputs were really honest, actionable and thought-provoking, and we're going to make sure to take it forward. A big thank you to all the entrepreneurs that are attending today. You are the reason why this ecosystem exists and why there's an urgency for us to build it as well. A huge thank you to the audience who've been standing for over an hour to listen to the panel discussion. It's really great to see this. And my sincere gratitude to CII for enabling this pivotal discussion to happen and for your continued support to the state of Andhra Pradesh. Thanks a lot. Over to you, ma'am.
So I must say, power pack, energetic, innovative, thoughtful and visionary session. I request all the audience to give them a big round of applause and a huge round of applause, in fact, so that they hear that we are appreciating this session so much. Thank you so much to all the panelists and honorable ministers. Now, to give respect and in honor, may I request Honorable Minister Mr. Nara Lokesh to facilitate our co-chair and esteemed panelists. May I request, sir, if you can come forward with a token of appreciation from Government of Andhra Pradesh and CII. Honorable Minister of MSME, Shri Kondapalli Srinivas Garu. Mr. Ravi Arora. Yeah, that's it. Mr. Rajesh Yabaji. Mr. Madan Padaki. And Professor Ramesh. Thank you so much. Big round of applause for all the panelists, please. It's an opportunity for all of us to witness the exchange of MOUs. May I now request Honorable Minister Mr. Nara Lokesh and Kondapalli Srinivas to initiate the exchange of MOUs, please. I would like to call upon AP Baga, the Andhra Pradesh VFX Animation and Gaming Association, through this collaboration, they will establish a center of excellence in AVGC XR right there at Amravati. It will also extend incubation support for startups in the media and entertainment sector, helping them to scale cutting-edge innovations and take Andhra Pradesh to the forefront of the digital creative revolution. Can we have a big round of applause for them, please? Next, we have Startup UAE. We request if only 2 representatives can come on the stage, please. Startup UAE. This MOU will launch a startup exchange program giving RTIH incubated startups access to international markets, investors and network across to UAE. It will also create a bridge between RTIH and UAE based innovation entities. Next we have Quantum AI. Do we have Quantum AI? Okay. We move on to the AIM and AIG. Are they here? Yeah. Can we have a big round of applause for them, please? In partnership with AIG AIM, they're proudly launching Ayu Nova, a healthcare-focused incubator cell that will nurture transformative health tech startups, positioning Andhra Pradesh as a leader in health tech innovation. Startup Runway. Are they there? Okay. Next up we have Startup Runway. This is the partnership with Startup Runway. They are going to launch a US market exchange program who's going to provide startups with mentorship, soft landing support, investor access and entry pathways into American markets. Can we have a big round of applause for them, please? And the last we have is RRP Electronics Limited. So RRP Electronics Limited, this is a OSAT project. This is a OSAT project which is talking about outsourcing semiconductor assembly facility, and they're investing around 10,000 crore of worth of investment. Can we have a big round of applause, please? May I request all the ministers as well as the panelists to come together for the photo opportunity, please. Can we have a photo op, please? Thank you so much, and it's a great audience, I must say, and please, I applaud everybody who's been here, and thank you. With this, we close the session, and we will be moving on to the next session shortly at 12. Thank you.
every RTIH, who is going to collaborate with all the officers at the zonal level, at the district level, and the district level also will have a IPOs across each constituency, so that every entrepreneur who want to start something, they're connected to RTIH as well. So that's a very big way to go, but definitely we want to promote entrepreneurship. Honorable Chief Minister's vision for 2047 wants every family should have one entrepreneur who could really prosper the village, his place, and the country as well. Being second highest populated country in this world, we are the biggest consumers in the world, and we can produce for our own needs, and we can also produce for the global needs as well. Honorable Chief Minister believes that if we could establish the ecosystem, definitely India could prosper, and definitely every family could prosper. So that is how the Honorable Chief Minister has been guiding us. Proper ecosystem has to be established, and the department is going to realign ourselves in a way that it could really help the industry as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Professor Ramesh Loganathan, I think you're one of the voices that's worked both in the industry and academia, and which is why we have that much more of an amplification effect from you. So, sir, what can we do to change the mindset of students in universities from a placement first mindset to innovation first mindset?
It's a very, very hard problem in the sense that I think it's the education system, right? And as a society, we are the one that nurture that system, our coaching-based system. So I think we zap any creative juices left in the kids, right, from 9th onwards till 12th. So unfortunately, engineering colleges and other colleges, we get the students. I don't think we make it worse, but we don't make it better either. So it's first thing is to see how can we create more exposure. We don't, if you look at it, like when I see any of the, especially students, when they come out with ideas and such, by and large, it's around maybe e-commerce or education, right? Very, very, because their world is so limited, their exposure. They only think of...
Welcome to Ms. Devjani Ghosh, Distinguished Fellow, Niti Ayog and Chief Architect of Niti Frontier Tech Hub, who will be joining us virtually. Our panelists, Professor Soumitra Datta, President, Portulans Institute and former Dean, University of Oxford and Cornell. Dr. Jeremy Jurgens-Man. Chair and also to all our eminent panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, AI is reshaping work, automating tasks while creating new roles, and this session will define strategies for businesses to harness AI for productivity and new value creation. This session will explore models for large-scale reskilling and frameworks for a human-machine balance, and turns workforce disruption into inclusive, opportunity-rich growth. Ladies and gentlemen, with these words, I will now request our session chair to kindly make his opening remarks and moderate this session. Over to you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to this important session on AI and the future of jobs, turning disruption into opportunity. Artificial intelligence is no longer a distant concept. It is transforming how economies function, how industries grow, and how societies create value. The question before us is not whether AI will change the world, but how we can shape this change into an opportunity for inclusive and sustainable employment. It is my privilege to welcome Shri Nara Lokesh, the Honorable Minister for Human Resource Development, IT, Electronics and Communication and Real-Time Governance, Government of Andhra Pradesh. Honorable Minister, we are honored to have you with us. Thank you very much. I would also like to congratulate you for your visionary leadership in making Andhra Pradesh a national hub for digital transformation. And in the last few days, having experienced what's happening and interacting with you, your Honorable Chief Minister, I think what you're doing is way ahead of what many parts of the world are doing. So congratulations, and also for the landmark data center, the US $15 billion investment by Google in the state, I think which will strategically so important to position AP as the future AI capital for India. A very warm welcome to Ms. Debjani Ghosh. She's on the screen here, distinguished fellow at Niti Aayog and chief architect of the Niti Frontier Tech Hub. She joins us virtually. She is a very well-known face, and her leadership in driving for India's frontier technology agenda and in building a strong foundation for AI-led innovation and competitiveness. I am equally pleased to welcome our other panelists, Professor Soumitra Datta, President, Portland's Institute, US, founder of the Global Innovation Index, and former Dean at Oxford and Cornell Universities, Mr. Jeremy Jurgens, Managing Director, World Economic Forum, Mr. Joe Deppa, Global Chief Innovation Officer, EY, Ms. Sharon Butau, Executive Director, Lead at Korea University. The title of our session today is AI and Future of Jobs. For many, this phrase sparks immediate anxiety. Will my job survive? The narrative is often of replacement, fear, and a looming job apocalypse. Yes, when we look closely at certain sectors across India, the picture is far more encouraging. I have felt that AI is a great amplifier of human potential if we can get it right. So it can help in making jobs for better and smarter. This is not a story of replacement, it's a story of reimagination of tasks and workflows. Think of AI as a powerful enabler, offering a massive national productivity boost. And we could call this the AI dividend. At the CII Partnership Summit, we would like to present 4 elements of this which are essential to capture this dividend. First is AI is our co-pilot, not our replacement. AI can automate or simplify nearly 2/3 of the tasks we perform every day. That is equivalent to giving every knowledge worker an additional 8 to 10 hours a week. The real challenge ahead of us is not mass unemployment, but a mass mismatch between the skills people have and the skills the economy will demand. Addressing this mismatch must become a national priority. The second thing is let's stop testing and start transforming. We will be releasing a report, CII, in partnership with EY, the report called The AI of India, and is India ready for agentic AI? And what we saw was that half of the enterprises have multiple use cases already in production, not just in pilot mode. But more than 95% of companies spend less than 20% of their IT budgets on AI. And there is a lot of excitement in almost every organization to try and see how they can use AI, not only just for optimization, but also transforming their business models. And I think the state of Andhra Pradesh is probably a great example of how they are leveraging AI and data to make the quality of decision making much, much, much better. The third thing we are saying, partnerships are a foundation of success. Today, 4 of 5 industry leaders are partnering with platform providers and service partners, and nearly 60% are co-innovating with startups in generative AI. There are 3 kinds of partnerships which are very, very important. First is the innovation partnership between industry and startups, talent partnerships between industry, universities, and academia, policy partnerships amongst industry, regulators, and policymakers. The fourth thing that we want to present is skill is non-negotiable. Talent remains at the heart of this transformation. Almost 60% of the business leaders that we studied in the report are already experiencing difficulty in hiring the right AI skills. So reskilling is no longer just a matter for HR departments, it's a national mission. And we must ensure that we provide basic AI literacy to everyone, enabling safe and productive use of AI tools, build deep technical expertise in data, AI and AI safety, and create new roles for domain experts. In CII, we are working towards reskilling workers of a number of organizations through our Center of AI and our COEs on skills. Over 10,000 MSMEs have been trained on adoption of AI in the last 6 months alone. So these are some of the initiatives which we think are very important to make AI a transformational agent for India and a great enabler to India's success. I'll now invite Sri Nara Lokesh, Honorable Minister for Human Resources. Thank you. And shall I hand it over to you, Minister? And
Thank you, Rajiv, for the wonderful introduction. I'd like to welcome all the panelists for coming here to Visakhapatnam. And I hope you got some time to enjoy, see the city yesterday. If not, at least do it today. So I think the theme of this particular session, I think it's exciting on one side and challenging on the other side. I have always believed that every industrial revolution has created more jobs than it has replaced. My take with AI and future of jobs is we either embrace it or be replaced by it. If you look at it, there are a few statistics out there that 14% of the global workforce has to be reskilled to adapt to the changes that AI is going to bring. I'm not here to alarm people, but I'm just here to say that this is the reality and how do we as society embrace, adopt to things that is ahead of us. The question is whether we will lead this transformation or we will be led by it. So there are two very fine distinctions between these. So as a state, we have taken a very, probably a different approach where we've come up with a three-part framework. The first is, of course, reskill, redefine, and reimagine. On the reskilling, it's very clear that by 2025, 97 million new roles are expected to emerge globally. So we as a state have created a platform called Naipunyam, which we are going to launch, which is not merely an aggregator of supply and demand, but we are using conversational AI to assess their skill level across various trades. So it could be a carpenter, an air conditioning mechanic, or even a lift mechanic, all the way to an AI engineer, and to look at how we can use online and offline courses to ensure they're reskilled and they are up to date and they are able to adapt to the changes that are happening across board. The second is the redefining productivity and human-machine collaboration. You know, honestly, AI is not a replacement to our creative thinking. So the other day I was in a university and we were talking about higher ed reforms. And the Vice Chancellor there was telling me that almost all the letters, permissions that students give for availing medical or whatever leaves, they were saying that everything is out of a chat GPT this day and age. So my concern is our creative thinking cannot be outsourced to AI. So it's very, very important to look at the fine line in the way we're going to redefine productivity and human interaction. And the third vertical, as I said, is reimagine and reimagine inclusion. One challenge that I've seen every industrial revolution bring about is the divide between the haves and have-nots. And I'm genuinely concerned, and the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, has also raised this point multiple times, where the divide with AI should not grow. In fact, it should be a bridge and not a barrier for economic progress. So as a government, we are really excited on how we can use this AI revolution to bridge the gap between urban and rural and ensure that the underserved are really skilled. And AI enables us to build an amazing platform to do that. To sum it all up, the age of AI is here. It is not going to be a threat to humanity, but I believe it is an invitation to elevate humanity. And future will be built by us, by the thought leaders who are sitting here. I am a policy maker, I am a politician, I understand these two sectors quite well. But my ability to understand the corner of AI or where the turn is going to be is not there. But you understand this better. And all of us together should reimagine the way we're going to interact, the way we're going to do things together. And what we as a state here offer is a platform. a platform that will stand the test of time in politics, that will live its sense of purpose and ensure that the changes that we bring about is not merely cosmetic, but it's fundamental. And it will transform the way people of Andhra Pradesh, people of India will embrace and use AI going forward. So it's important that all of us ensure that future of work is not just about productive but purposeful. It's not just automated but augmented. It's not just intelligent but inclusive. Thank you very much.
Honorable Minister, thank you. Thank you very much for your insights onto what the impact, what we should try as a country, as government, as individuals, try and see how we can get the right leverage from AI. I'll now hand it over to Debjani. Debjani, if you could, what I'll request all the panelists, Debjani, maybe you can start. If you can make maybe 3 to 5 minutes of initial comments on how do you see AI shaping up? How do you see that impacting jobs or wider impact of, and from your vantage point, particularly how government is looking at it and how government is looking at frontier technologies would be very, very helpful. Over to you, Debjani.
Thank you, Rajiv. Hope I'm audible. Respected Minister, all distinguished guests on stage in the room, a very good morning. And Minister Lokesh, I'm very sorry I couldn't be there in person and experience the beautiful city, hoping to make up for it very soon. But a huge thanks to CII for the invite. Since this session is about AI and jobs, I'm so glad that, Minister, you said what you did, because I think it is time that we set to rest this debate that has been going on for a very long time on whether AI will impact jobs or not. The short answer, yes, it will. And it is important that we acknowledge this upfront, because that's only half the story. We need to now focus our time, our energy to what really matters, which is the other half of the story. How can India turn this disruption into a massive opportunity? So, as you said, job transitions driven by technology, they are not new. We have seen them from the printing press, textile automation, computers. Every wave disrupted jobs, but they created many more, and sometimes they created better ones, most times actually. So the job disruption, as I keep saying, is just one half of the story. And to understand the full picture, the NITI Frontier Tech Hub, along with the industry partners, undertook a very detailed study of India's 8 million tech workforce, of which 6 million is in the tech industry, 2 million in other industries. And let me in these 3 minutes share very briefly what the key findings were. First, yes, jobs will be disrupted. Areas like software development, customer experience, call centers, data entry operators, etc. AI is already giving a 15 to 20% productivity gain. And we believe this will get to around 40 to 50% very soon. This, we believe, will lead to around a 2 million disruption in the tech roles in India in the next 3 years. But that is again only half the picture. AI is also creating an entirely new universe of jobs, but it's very different. The jobs that are getting created are very different from the jobs that are getting displaced. These jobs are far more specialized. So roles like prompt engineer, AI DevOps engineer, AI architects, none of them existed 5 years back. You go and search Google or whatever your search engine is to see when these names started propping up. They started coming up in 2022. And today, they employ thousands of people globally and in India. So, but what we are seeing is there won't be one single large job category like we've had in the past, like data entry operator, which employed millions of people. Instead, what we will have is a combined growth of many specialized roles, which we expect will expand India's tech workforce significantly. And our estimate is it will add around 4 million more jobs to the country in the next few years, provided the tech spend stay the course. That's a major assumption we are building in. And two, we are building the right skills in the country. So if we have to change this narrative, and I would sincerely request Andhra to take the lead in changing this narrative, the narrative has to shift from job loss to job transformation. And as we talk about job transformation, three things we need to look at. First, work will change. So we apply what we call a 3W lens. Work will change, as I've said. Second, workers will change. Today, a developer, it's not going to be enough for a developer to just know coding. They have to know LLM APIs, for example. QA engineers will need to know edge case analysis, for example. So the job roles are changing, the worker roles are changing. And third, the workforce pyramid is changing. The routine entry-level jobs that you've had at the starting point, the end of the pyramid, these are shrinking. The mid-level jobs are getting way more specialized. And then there's a new top layer of hyper-specialized jobs that is emerging, AI architects, AI DevOps, etc., etc. And this is a shift we cannot ignore as we build out the skills framework. So I'll sum up by saying AI is not going to create millions of similar jobs, but it will create thousands of deeply specialized jobs, which will result in millions of employment for the country. And we believe that if we can act with urgency, coherence, our tech and CX workforce can grow from 8 million today to 12 to 13 million by 2031, positioning India as one of the world's largest AI talent powerhouse. But there is a need for coherence. And this is why the Niti Frontier Tech Hub, in its study, has recommended that we need a national AI talent mission, which is a whole of government approach that brings together the different skilling initiatives that exist in silo into a national effort. So in closing, the difference between job loss and job creation, I strongly believe, will depend entirely on the choices we make today. We have the talent, we have the scale, and I do believe we have the intent. So now what we need is urgency, collaboration, and unity of purpose. And Minister, as Niti Frontier Tech Hub, we would love to partner with you, with CII, to see how Andhra Pradesh, the framework that you're building, how that can create a framework for the rest of the country to achieve this purpose. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debjani. Very clear comments. I think very similar to some of the findings that we have in the report, that it's the nature of jobs that will change, and how, as a country, as a society, how we equip ourselves to be ready for that change will determine our future with AI. So thank you very much. I will now hand it over. Maybe we'll start from this corner here. Joe is my partner in crime in EY. He is based in the Valley. Just came here for a day. So Joe, it'll be great to share your perspective. You heard a little bit about where India is, but it'll be great to get your perspective on what's happening around the world, in the world of AI, in context of jobs and generally overall how the development is going on.
Thank you, Rajiv, and thank you for the hospitality to CII. It's always amazing to be in India, and the hospitality of the people is something that I think is really special. From an innovation perspective, I think what's important is every single client and every single organization and every single government around the world is asking this same set of questions. The speed of technology evolution is something none of us have ever seen before. And so really there's three key components that are going to be required in this next wave of transformation. One is around the digital workforce. And when you think about the digital workforce, and we're in India today, what you're looking for is digitally native and AI-led workforce. India actually has the youngest workforce and the most generative AI usage in the world. So India is really well positioned from a workforce perspective. That's number one. The second component around the next wave of AI evolution is data infrastructure. So without data, there is no AI, and the data infrastructure is so critical. That includes everything from the infrastructure that the government sets up, It includes digital commerce as well as the network capability that is in place. And again, India, I think, is leading the way from that perspective. The third is what we've talked a lot about already today, which is I refer to it as the innovation muscle. So innovation muscle means the training, the reskilling, the culture, the entrepreneurial spirit of the organization or the country is going to be actually, in my opinion, the most important component as we think about the future of jobs. Now, to be clear, and I think we've heard this today, I think every industry is going to have a massive transformation as a result of AI. Every industry will be impacted. We are seeing some industries impacted more quickly than others. For example, finance and professional services. Those jobs can be, those jobs today that are repeatable, they can actually be automated with agentic AI. But every industry from manufacturing to healthcare to life sciences to consumer packaged goods will be impacted by AI. So when we think about jobs of the future, what we think about is there's three components. Level one is humans plus AI. That's actually what a lot of us are experiencing today. We're using Copilot, we're using other tools and technologies to help us do our jobs better. Some productivity gains, some quality gains, but not significant change yet. What I think is going to be really significant is level two, which is where humans manage agents. So if you think about that, that means that you need to onboard the agents, you have to recruit the agents, you have to train the agents, you have to certify the agents. This is an entirely new workforce that doesn't currently exist. That's going to be a big area of job growth. Level three is actually where humans are managing the intelligent orchestration of agents plus physical AI. So that's when things really start to progress very quickly, when you talk about agents and physical AI. And if you think about the job growth there, for example, physical AI, we talk about the actual data required to simulate these robots. We talk about the testing required to simulate these robots, and then the certification to put these in place. Some components around sovereign AI are really critical as well. So how do you actually orchestrate that at the local level, whether it's within a country or jurisdiction? So to me, as I think about India, I think that from a global perspective, it's massively ripe for really taking advantage of this next AI evolution. You have the right digital infrastructure in place. You certainly have the right talent. And I think the key is going to be, can we put together the right innovation muscle to train the next generation of workforce as quickly as possible? Because the world needs India to be successful, because that's going to be the next wave of growth from a technology perspective. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. You're right. I think both in terms of skilled workforce and also the amount of data that we have, I think if we can tap into that, whether using sovereign data or sovereign AI or other things, and also skilling our workforce and building use cases here, I think we could at least, on the innovation side, we may be slightly behind, but at least on the use case side and leveraging that internally for our efficiencies, I think it's a great opportunity. I'll now hand it over to Professor Soumitra Datta. He is been a dean in some of the leading universities in the world and is very actively, both from an academia and industry side, very actively engaged in AI and modern technology. So it'll be great to get your perspective, Professor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and good morning to everyone. We have already heard a number of very interesting comments, so I'll just try and complement that with some perhaps slightly contrarian perspectives. As a professor in academia, I'm very worried when I read reports like yesterday in the Wall Street Journal, when the journal is predicting that the 2026 class is seeing the worst year in terms of employment that they have seen in more than a decade. When I look at not just, for example, there's a lot of talk of reskilling, which is very important, I don't deny that, but what about the millions of young graduates coming out of university today? What about their jobs? What about their careers? I think these are very important questions ahead of us. Now, why do I raise this perspective? And just to get you involved a little bit in the discussion, let me just pose a question to you. And this is where I want you to raise your hand. How many of you think today AI, whatever you define as AI, is roughly equal to human capability, human intelligence, roughly whatever you define as that. Just raise your hand if you believe today we are roughly equal. Okay, very few hands. In 5 years' time from now, raise your hands. How many of you think will be roughly equal? Okay, many more. In 10 years' time, how many of you think? Pretty much everyone. Okay, thank you. Now, if you look at what human beings do, we do essentially 3 buckets of things. So we interpret patterns in data, whether it's marketing data, machine data, whatever. We create new patterns, creativity that you talked about earlier, and we form human relationships. Empathy, that's very important. Take the first part, interpreting data. Hands down, machines do it better. No question about that. Creating new patterns, creativity. Maybe you have a question mark on that, but believe me, today machines are almost as good in almost every domain. Now, you still have human designers in many domains, but they often are just orchestrating the output of machines, suggesting possible patterns out there. So machines are there or better than human beings in most of that area. You might argue and say empathy is just for human beings. That's what machines cannot do. Have you heard of a bot in China called Yonsei, which is the real-life girlfriend of more than 600 million Chinese males? Now, this is not a joke. This is a real-life implementation of the movie Her, in which the man falls in love with the operating system, released in 2013. Now, you might think, well, these are funny examples, but guess what? Bots are now being used for psychological counseling teenagers, people with mental health conditions, and they're actually often seen as better than human counselors. So what I'm just trying to say is that if you look at all the 3 dimensions, analyzing patterns, creating new patterns, forming relationships, machines are actually getting there. Now, if you look at what's at stake out here, so on one hand, you have the pressure to keep on automating, improving efficiency, and that's where we talk about AI being used more and more in industry, and that's very good. Productivity is an important goal to achieve. But we also have to think about humanity, because as machines and people become 2 equal resources, it is our decisions as leaders in industry and government about how do we build the balance between humans and machines. That is a very important notion, that decisions that we make will decide which way we tip the balance. Now, what is at stake out here? If you tip the balance more towards productivity, of course, in principle, you're helping the economy. And the pressure will be to, in fact, push the economy, push productivity as much as possible. That's one reason why you will see a lot of companies now slowing down hiring, a lot of companies, in fact, using AI much more to do different things in their own organizations. But the risk out there is if you go too hard on that pedal of productivity and economy goes up, you risk human dignity. Because we as human beings, our core, the industrialized society in which we live, a core element of human dignity is the ability to be able to earn a living, to be able to do a day's work, and to be able to put food on the table for the family. Now, how do you in fact balance the two is, I think, the most important decision in front of us. And I don't think, honestly, today that most companies, most national governments are really looking at that in a sensible, deep manner. Today, the often politically correct approach is, well, technologies are to empower people. It'll make you better. It'll make you, in fact, more productive. And that's politically acceptable. That's politically more sellable. Even in the tech companies, it is an easier sales argument to say that, well, technology will actually enable you and help you become better. What about the fact of large-scale unemployment? What about the fact when people don't have full jobs? That is not an unreal prospect. Look at what's happened in agriculture, manufacturing, and services. Agriculture, mechanization in the West, employment has shrunk dramatically. Manufacturing, go to the latest manufacturing shops, typically in anywhere in the world, the number of people employed has become very, very small. It's mainly robots, mainly machines. In services, today, of course, you have a lot of people employed. But the reason for that is mainly that humanoid robots are not yet at the price value point at which you can use them, replace humans. Because the cost ratio is just simply too high, the value ratio is too poor. So we're not yet at that point of replacement. What will happen in 10 years' time when humanoid robots will become cheap enough and good enough to replace replace a nurse, replace a hotel worker? That is the big question mark for us that we have to grapple with. So let me stop out there, but I just want to say that I think the real question, the real challenges out here that I don't think we are really fully addressing in government and industry.
Thanks, Sumitro. Thanks for a slightly different viewpoint. And just on humanoid robot, that's where China is investing the most. So if you go to China, their largest investment in AI is not computational AI, but humanoid robots. So that change will also come much, much faster than what we are anticipating. I'll now pass it on to Sharon. Sharon is an executive director, lead at Korea University. Sharon, your opening remarks, please.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Although I study technology, it really evades me. I really appreciate the comments by my panelists. Maybe I thought of providing a little bit of a different perspective, given that instead of looking on top and in the future, I look in the reality right now. I'm Canadian, but I've been in India 17 years and vastly invested in talking to every corner in the rural areas in the field and bringing back stories to forums like CII or even to the government to see what's going on. One of the key learnings, two things I learned from India. There are several decades in one country. Some people are at the forefront of the decade, like one of our panelists. I'll talk to you about the big majority are still in a previous decade that we need to bring in on board for the inclusion story the Honorable Minister mentioned as well. The other thing I understood from India is averages don't work. India, you have to look at extremes to understand what's going on in this country. So given that I'm in front of a panelist and in front of a crowd of a lot of business people, I'll focus my work on the opportunity and the productivity topic where I work a lot in the space of gender, where the topic of integrating women in the labor force is a huge one here. So I focus on the positive aspects of AI is to making women more visible. I think 70% of women businesses are at home. They don't have access to networks like men do. They cannot go outside. So I have seen a lot of positive aspects to see how can women be embedded in online platforms like ONDC, which are not perfect yet, but allows them to sort of like be more visible. And if women are more visible, they'll have better access and better opportunity to markets, but also finance. One of the key things of business is you need to have access to credit and finance and opportunities, no? So the opportunity offered by women is immense. I think women can have those digital trails, women can have access to networks and opportunity, and women could be more visible. So that's one aspect I feel that's very important. I think that would also increase a lot the work for women. The other aspect that I see as well that's a huge opportunity is digital-enabled work, where a lot of the women are frontline workers, where they're ASHA workers, Angawadi workers, and they're just starting to have access to digital to improve their productivity in their work. And that also trickles down to government. The quicker that these ASHA workers, these Angawadi workers, they are your data collector, the better that will impact also decision-making at the policy levels. For the Angawadi workers, you can see as well, the better they put the systems in the dashboard, the quicker the decisions the government can make. In a centralized perspective, knowing that India is very heterogeneous as well. Even ASHA workers, Angawadi workers. The other perspective that we see a lot is this: we don't think about the AI system, and this is the decade that's different than your colleague, is that I remember the first thing when we started digital AI work, we talked to the ministry mate team, Mr. Krishna, our secretary. Actually, the first task he asked us to look us in the PLI scheme, the Samsung and things like that, where the government of India gives a lot of money. And we see that that's one of the areas where women are enabling the AI ecosystem by chip production, etc. One of our high recommendations is one of the areas where women can contribute as an entry point. but it's very important that they're able to escalate that system, no? So what we've noticed, and when we studied the PLI scheme, is that yes, women are part of building AI, but they're at the low entry. So our recommendations would see you need to make sure that women are not just at the, because they have small fingers and all, they can assemble stuff. How do we make sure that women have systems that enable them to grow and supervise? So we encourage the government to collect data on that front. I think that's quite critical. On that front as well, talking to the ministry, and this is a very India context. So India is a very big consumer and producer of digital AI. It's not a great designer. So, and very few women also are part of the design, and very few people in general. I think India itself designs their own maybe 15%, which is staggering. And I think that's where an area where you need to integrate and be more exclusive. Not only women, even people from remote communities, tribal areas. I've seen fabulous examples from that front. Lastly, I think one of the areas where we see a lot, and we call it maybe digital embedded work, and that relates to the colleague from Ernst & Young, where you see that there's a whole movement of gig economy happening in rural areas where, and it's a fabulous initiative from the Bashini, the Indian government, to try to democratize AI through languages. And I don't know if everyone saw the movie Human in the Loop recently, where they showcase that this allows women to be able to do work in their phone here. They can do maybe 10 hours of work when they can, when they're available in their local language. It also helps to integrate, making sure that biases that are in our regular work are not integrated in AI or digital, because I think the speed of AI and digital goes very quickly. So this is actually a great opportunity to make sure that we don't repeat that online. I think those are the opportunities, and we are working as well to make sure that women have starting to have, it's not only having access to a phone. I see a lot of this initiative from the government say access to the phone. You need opportunity, you need initiative, you need support. And we've learned from some systems as well, like the government said, we will give a phone, but those phones break. Those phones need investment in data points every month, no? Those phones also need to be replaced. And that's critical as well to see. So there needs to be a whole big portion of India that needs to be integrated in all of that digital AI ecosystem there. I'll leave it to my colleague somewhere else, and a pleasure to connect, yeah.
Thanks, Sharon. We're sorry to interrupt, but we were running out of time. Jeremy, you're the last one. So my only request is if we can make it short. Sorry for this, but I know the minister has to leave, so thank you.
That's right. So actually, I think I'm supposed to join the minister shortly, and I'll come to that at the end. So first, it's really a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate the hospitality of the government in Andhra Pradesh, of our partners at the CII, and all of the people that I've met during the visit. I'd like to start with the challenge. We've heard a little bit on the numbers in India from Joe, also what that means in finance and professional services. The World Economic Forum has done research looking at 1 billion jobs globally. We interviewed 1,000 large companies across 55 countries and understood what this means for the future of their workforces. And what we saw is that we will lose roughly 92 million jobs in the next 5 years. 90 million jobs will disappear in the next 5 years. And that isn't even before we talk about all the jobs that need to be reskilled. But the good news is there's an opportunity to create 170 million new jobs. But those new jobs won't come on their own. It will take conscious action. It'll take programs from employers in how they design, how they reskill their resources. It'll require partnerships between universities, corporations, and the state to prepare the next generation of talent for those roles. It'll also mean that we actually have to adapt to a new workforce, because many of those jobs won't come from the large traditional industries. They'll come from entrepreneurs. And those entrepreneurs will need new support networks. They'll need digital public infrastructure, building on what you have in India here with Aadhaar, UPI. But we'll also need a digital infrastructure that allows for cybersecurity, that allows for SMEs to be able to scale and unlock capabilities. So all those things are going to come together. So massive challenge, but also significant opportunity that requires conscious action. Now, one of the reasons I'm here today in Andhra Pradesh is because we think that Andhra Pradesh will be a hub for this future vision of how to create an economy that brings dignity and opportunity to employees. We look at programs like the Naipunyam with the expertise that will actually have a skills database that we can actually train workers. We'll be launching today a Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, focusing on energy and cybersecurity. Because before you get to the AI and before you need the data, you need the energy to actually power the data centers, to power the algorithms, and you also need to make sure that it's secure. And this is one of the reasons we focus on cybersecurity. There's roughly 4 million jobs that are in shortfall today in cybersecurity. So this creates an opportunity for new workforces, new roles, and new opportunities. And last is we really appreciate, I think there's roughly 70% of the graduates here in Andhra Pradesh are focused on STEM roles. That will prepare them well to enter the new workforce, but they'll also need to be continuously skilled, continuously updating their education in those opportunities. And this is something that we look forward to partnering with Andhra Pradesh to help prepare that future workforce, to help prepare the future economy. And I think together we can contribute to a nation and a global economy that's more prosperous, more equitable, and more meaningful for everyone in it. So thank you, Rajiv, and thank you to the Minister for hosting us here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, you've heard different perspectives, different dimensions of this. And I know you have a grand vision, and the state has a grand vision on how you leverage AI, technology, various new themes that are coming around the world. So one is just general thoughts on what you've heard, but also particularly, I'm particularly keen on, for AI to be successful, how do you capture data? And what are you doing as a state to be effective from a data standpoint?
Well, after the session, I thought I'll have some answers, but I walk out with more questions. Thanks to Soumitra here. I think, but the points raised are very valid. I think we need to think through the nuances as we go about, doing what we are supposed to do in this industrial revolution. See, as a state, we are talking about energy transition. It's easy said than done because wind speeds predictability, cloud formation, so solar efficiency, then your ability to sort of pump up traditional forms of energy to sort of give the transition, especially with data centers that require higher reliability, is a big challenge. And that is exactly where we're using AI. Our ability to predict, understand this. In terms of state, we are one of the very few states, and I was actually quite pleasantly surprised that I had counterparts in Australia at the state level who have something called Minister for Customer Service. It's similar to what we are trying to achieve in real-time governance, is how do you deliver governance at the doorstep of the citizen whilst keeping in mind the entire data that we are able to capture and give a much more predictive analysis. So a great example of that is how we've handled the recent cyclone, which we thought will be a lot more intensive, but our ability to understand where it's going to land, the speed at which, the track, we were far better than the other institutions out there because we have over a period of time built those data sets, we are able to hone on those data sets, and that will again be very core to us as we go forward. So as a state, we are continuing to collect the data points that are relevant for us to ensure better governance delivery. But then yes, we also have to keep in mind the ethical framework on how this data is going to be used and not be used against underprivileged sections of the society. So that's equally going to be important. And that is why we have something called the Core Data Authority that has the framework in place to ensure that this is not used against them. But then honestly, I think all of us sitting here are just trying to understand what is AI, its implications on humanity and how it's going to change our lives here. Definitely 5 years from now, maybe the 35th Partnership Summit that we're going to do here, I think we'll come back and reflect on whether we got our predictions right or we were off. I think because all of us here are pretty much guessing where we'll be 5 years from now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we are run out of time. I think only thing I probably like to add, Honorable Minister, and hearing everyone, very insightful comments from all the panelists, is it is a reality, and the question is, how do you make the most of it? I mean, you can see half full, half empty. Different people can have different perspectives. But if this is going to come, then as a country, as a society, as an organization, how do you make the most from this? Be ready, be prepared for this transition. And I think that's what, at every level, I can see that there's a worry, there is fear, but there's also some sense of opportunity of change. And I think what Debjani mentioned, what they're looking at from a government standpoint, if they're able to create that institution, that will be really good. So before I let you go, CII, in partnership with EY, we have put together a report, and we would be really grateful if you could launch the report, which captures the present state of agentic AI in India.
May I invite Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee and Mr. Hari Balaji, leader EY India's Center of AI Excellence, to please come on stage for the release of this report. Ladies and gentlemen, this report is on AI. Is India ready for agentic AI? Ladies and gentlemen, the report on AI is India ready for agentic AI. Let's have a huge round of applause for the release of this very important report. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for doing the honors in releasing this report. Ladies and gentlemen, may I please invite Dr. Mrs. Suchitra Kela, Vice President of CII and Co-founder and Managing Director of Bharat Biotech International Limited, to kindly come on stage. We have the MOU exchange between CII and Bharat Biotech Limited. I request Ms. I'll request Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General of CII, to kindly join in for the MOU exchange. Ladies and gentlemen, this is between CII and Bharat Biotech Limited. Through this initiative, CII Bharat Biotech will equip 30,000 youth in Vijayawada with soft and employability skills and provide career counseling and placements over the next 5 years. This is being done under the gracious presence of our Honorable Minister, the MOU's exchange between CII and Bharat Biotech Limited. Let's have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. We will now present the mementos. May I please request President CII to kindly do the honors in presenting the mementos. May I request Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee to kindly say a few words on the report. May I please request President CII to kindly present a memento to Honorable Minister. Let's have a huge round of applause for Honorable Minister. He's indeed given a lot of his precious time and been deeply involved and participated in the sessions, giving his deep insights and guidance. He's doing the honors of presenting the mementos to all the speakers. I request our speakers to kindly come forward. May I please request speakers to kindly come forward for the memento presentation. May I request Ms. Sharon Buter to please come forward for the memento presentation. Can we have the applause going, ladies and gentlemen? And request President CII to please do the honors in presenting and while stating Honorable Minister. And Honorable Minister has decided that he will instead felicitate President CII, as he says he's the host. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause. Before we conclude this session, I just want to invite Dr. Mrs. Suchitra Kerala. She would be saying a few words regarding this very important MOU exchange. Madam, may I please request you to say a few words?
I just would like to make a small remark to the Honorable Minister and to the Government of Andhra Pradesh. Yesterday I had made a statement about our commitment in ensuring that we will participate in skilling and livelihoods and employment generation for the state of Andhra Pradesh. And here is, today we have just demonstrated a very small step in that into that goal of ours, and we will extrapolate it further going in the few years, in the following years, to take it as much as possible in order to upscale, skill, create livelihoods and employment for the youth and women of Andhra Pradesh. Honorable Minister, thank you so much for your time in accommodating this request for us. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Suchitra Kerala. Ladies and gentlemen, with this we conclude the session, and we'll be immediately moving on to the valedictory session, which will be happening here in this hall. So you all requested to kindly remain with us, and we will just make the necessary table arrangements before moving on to the valedictory session.